Hey beauties, good afternoon to you beautiful people. You know, there is something that has always been a concern of mine, and I don't know if anyone else has experienced it. And yesterday I came across a young man, he said something that really and truly alluded to it. And I may have logged on it in a sense where I said we find people loving our enemies and hating our friends. But I don't mean loving our enemies as how the Bible says we ought to love and pray for our enemies. I'm talking about people shafting the victim and welcoming, lauding, and praising the perpetrator. And this is usually very prevalent in the workplaces and even churches. So, for example, you may have people who are in management or who have some strong influence, and people will see that they are abusers, that they disrespect people, they tear down people, they're very condescending because of their own weaknesses and broken state and narcissism. And people will see that, and people will sense, well, I don't know if they sense it, if there is any discernment. And we're talking even people who claim to be Christians, and what they do, they laugh and they laud the perpetrator. And the victim, they just almost kind of show a little pity and kind of just go along with what is happening in the workplace. They know that the perpetrator is psychologically and verbally, in a sense, abusing the victim. And I just use the word victim versus perpetrator so that you can get the argument very well. And they do nothing about it. They do nothing about it. Usually they do nothing about it because, one, they're afraid that they too will become the victim. And if the person has some influence, especially if they're in management, they feel that they may end up losing their job. But I remember reading something in the book of Ezekiel, I think, somewhere in the 30s. I think it's Ezekiel 33 or 36, somewhere in the 30s, where it says, if you see it, like it talks about somebody of influence, like the king or whatever, if you see the person doing something wrong and you do nothing about it for whatever reason, then the blood of that person will be on your shoulder and God will hold you accountable. God will hold you accountable, because it's something that I can never ever understand. To me, you're almost like the perpetrator when you see and you sense. And one of the things that I detest, for example, you will have women who will see other women. I've read a book on it. Will see another woman who is bright, beautiful, young or fairly young or whatever it is, and doing well. And they form a coup against that woman and create something. If that woman begins to complain or put her case, her argument to somebody up in authority, the cry or the argument is, or the statement is, why women can't get along? Why can't you women just get along? And you wonder to yourself, if the person that you relay the information to has heard what you've said. You said that you come making peace, and they decided to give you war for the peace. So they decided to repay you evil for good. You have women like that. I think it's the most insensitive and not thought out comment to make to somebody. Somebody comes and they say to you, I came here on my very first day. I realized that something is off, that this person doesn't like me. And from day one to day, whatever it is, however long you've been in the company, you've tried to make peace, and the person has a very uncanny and sinister way of vilifying me. There is something behind it. I feel it. I see it. And they try to make it seem as if it is not there. And others may even sense it. And the argument, especially with men, why you women cannot get along? Why you women cannot get along? Not all women are shallow. Not all women have a shoddy thinking. Not all women are bitter. Not all women are narcissistic. Not all women have the spirit, as they would say, of Jezebel and Delilah. No. Many of us, or some of us, are decent women. And I find that the ones who decided to live it with integrity and decent and to be peacemakers and to be loving, we're no nonsense, that they are the ones that get shafted. And the perpetrators are lauded and praised, even by people who said they are people of faith. They're Christian people. I've seen it in workplaces. I've seen it in churches. And the one who is a victim and being victimized, they're treated like they're the perpetrators. You see it in meetings. You see it just on the everyday encounters in the offices and in the churches and other places. But I have news for you. You see, whatever you do, sometimes people feel, oh, it's not my business. And you come with this very shallow comment because you don't want to seemingly like you're taking sides, because you're afraid to lose some sort of favor that you may get from the perpetrator. But I'm going to tell you, you may not lose today, but you're going to lose tomorrow. If you see wrong and you do nothing about it, you repay good for wrong. And I'm not talking about when it says, for example, if somebody does something ill to you, you respond similarly. I don't mean like that. It's like a child who is disobedient and disrespectful to the parent, and you don't hold them accountable. You say, oh, hush, and you sort of behave like you're doing something good. If you repay good, if you repay evil for good, good for evil, evil will never leave your doorstep. And your day of reckoning will come. Your day of reckoning will come. You must stomp out. Don't be so afraid to lose people. Don't be so afraid to be, for lack of a better term right now, victimized. Because if you're not victimized today, you're going to be victimized tomorrow. Your day that's a part of life. Challenges are a must. You can't hide from being victimized. It's almost like it's appointed to everyone at some point in life. And I'm saying the word victimized for you to understand that you have to be prepared to go to the gallows, so to speak. Esther was like that. She was prepared, so to speak, to go to the gallows in a sense. She said, if I perish, I perish, but I'm not going to allow Haman to destroy my people. I am not going to do that. It disturbs me when I see people in the workplaces and in the churches, and they come off like they're so holy, yet they know what the perpetrators are doing. And they laugh and they skin teeth and they kaka with people who are victimizing people in workplaces, abusing people in workplaces, disrespecting people in workplaces, trying to make people seem as if they're incompetent and not doing anything, while they themselves are the ones who are not doing it. I heard Denzel Washington telling somebody, anytime you see somebody quick to say, you're not this and you're not, they're the ones who actually cannot do it, or they're not doing it. They either cannot or they're not doing it. And of course, we have a way where we say we give constructive criticism. That's necessary. That's a part of growth and development, But people, we're talking about people who are being critical because they want to be evil, they want to be wicked, and they want to vilify people. There is a nefarious spirit that walks with them. And what bothers and disturbs me is that you have people who say they're Christians, even if they're not. They say that they try to rock both boats. I don't want to squeeze the corn on the perpetrator because they may affect my job, and I don't want to lose the victim because they may look at me as somebody evil too. So you say nothing. You remain in neutral. You notice when a car is in neutral, you just hear the sound not moving. You're going nowhere. Even if somebody may push your car, but you yourself can't go anywhere. You're stuck right there. When you don't take a stance. So what if you lose them? So what if they're not in your corner? Let us say, I'm not saying that anybody must give up their job for somebody who they don't know, but hardly likely you would stay in that position of loss. When God says that you stand up for truth, rights, realities, and justices, or you will be rewarded. That is why the Bible says, do not give up in doing good, because in due season you will be rewarded. And he's talking about while you're here on earth. People who do that never lose out. And that blessing follows on their children and their children's children. It really disturbs me. I see these things happening. They see other people getting victimized, and yet they laugh and they skin teeth and they almost shake hands and praise the perpetrator, because one, they probably feel they're going to lose their jobs. They feel they're going to be victimized like that individual, and they don't want that to happen to them. They can't manage that pressure. They can't manage that stress, and they don't want to lose or to not be in the corner of the perpetrator, especially if the perpetrator is the one who holds the hand and they hold the blade. But one day your hand is still going to get on that blade, because you're sowing that seed. You see wrong and you do nothing about it. You see wrong and you do nothing about it. And God shall and he will hold you accountable. The sideline, one who straddled the fence. So you're really a perpetrator as well. Don't feel that you're not. You really are doing the very same abuse, whether it's psychological or verbal, maybe indirectly. But you're no different from the perpetrator when you're like that. Anywho, guys, follow me on TikTok. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please share this message. Thank you.